Hello and welcome to my channel, Crochet and Copy. My name is Judy. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this lovely moss color black top in women's size small. Here are the measurements of our top. So these are supplies we're going to be using to make our moss color black top. I'll go over them with you. The yarn that we're using is the Baby Bee Sweet Delight and the color is Surf Baby. It's the light 3. It's 60% acrylic and 40% polyamide. I hope I pronounced it right. If I didn't, please forgive me. And we're going to use two different colors. So the next color is chocolate. Everything is the same. It's just the color is different, okay? We're going to be using stitch markers, yarn needle, and the hook that we're going to be using is the US H8, it's the 5.00 millimeter, and lastly our scissors. So these are our supplies. And since we're making the small size of our top, we're going to just be using one of each of our yarn to make it, okay? So we're going to start off by using our chocolate color yarn, and we're going to start off by doing a slip knot stitch. This is how I'm comfortable in doing my slip knot stitch. Feel free to use the method you're comfortable. I take the yarn, drape it over my 2 fingers, let it fall to the back, take my hook and put my hook between my fingers and pull up a loop. There you go. You have a nice little knot, and take it and pull it against your hook. And that's it. Now we're going to do 75 chain, and the chain is yarn over, pull across, yarn over, and pull across. That's all a chain consists of. Yarn over, pull across, yarn over and pull across, yarn over and pull across. That's it. So you're going to do that for 75 times. Keep your chain a little loose, okay? So when you finish that for 75 times, I'll meet you there. So we did that for 75 times. We did 75 chains, and this is how we look, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet into the second chain from our hook. So the first chain from our hook will be this one right here, but we're not going to go there, and we're going to go right here, the second chain, okay? But we're going to use the back of our chain to do that. The bar, the little bar in the back, or the little bumps in the back of our chain, we're going to use that. It looks better that way, okay? And a single crochet is just go into that bar back there, and then you're going to pull up a loop. So you're going to have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull across, those 2. And that's a single crochet. So now we're going to do this till we get to the end of our chain, okay? So it's just 1 single crochet, and use the little bar in the back right here for a chain. That's why when we made it a little loose, we could work with it better. So a chain is you go into that bar, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull across. Single crochet. Show you again. Go into that bar, the back of the chain, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull across. I'll show you one more time. Go to the little back bar of our chain, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull across 2 of them, and that's your single crochet. So continue doing that till you get to the end, and I'll show you what to do next. So now we made it to the end, and with that last single crochet right there, we have 74 single crochet when we finish off, okay? And that will complete row 1. Now to start row 2, you're going to chain 2, and again a chain is just yarn over, pull across, 1, 2, and that's it. So turn our work. So now that first stitch right there, we're going to skip that stitch. We're not going to put nothing there. We're going to go into the second stitch right here though, and we're going to put a single crochet in that stitch. So single crochet is go into that stitch, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull across. So I just want to reference it to the next when we go into the next row. So I'm just going to put a stitch marker there so you can see it's in the space that we did with the chain 2, okay? So I'll show you why, refer to it. So the pattern is for row 2 is you're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and the following you're going to put a single crochet. Remember, the single crochet is going to that stitch, yarn over, and 2 loops on your hook to complete it and pull across. Okay, show you again. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and the following stitch you're going to single crochet right into that stitch right there. So yarn over and then pull a loop up, 2 loops on a hook, yarn over and pull across those 2 to complete it. So again, that's the pattern. You're going to do that till you get to the end of the row, and then I'll meet you there and show you what to do next. Okay, one more time. Chain 1, skip that stitch, go into the following stitch by putting 1 single crochet there. All right, so keep on doing that. So now I chain 1, and I have 1 more set of the pattern that we're doing to do, because we chain 1. So remember, we skip that stitch right there, and then there's a last stitch right there. We're going to just put 1 single crochet in there. Okay, so now for row 3, what you're going to do is chain 2, 1, 2, and turn your work. Just so you know too, when we completed row 2, we still have the same amount of stitches. We didn't increase or decrease, and we'll consider the single crochet right here. It makes a V. Hopefully you can see it good. And the chain space 1 right there, that's also considered a stitch. So you should have, if you divide it up, you have 37 single crochet you did and 37 chain 1 space you have. So we're going to refer to that back later. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Hopefully I didn't confuse you. So when we turn our work, our first stitch that we have is that single crochet right there that makes that V shape, and then you have that space, chain 1 space that we did from the previous row. So that's where we're going to put our first single crochet for row 3, and this is the pattern we're going to follow. So a single crochet into the chain 1 space. Okay, and then you're going to chain 1, and then remember, not the single crochet, because the single crochet has that V shape up and down. You see it when you do it. Okay, and then you're going to put a single crochet into the chain 1 space from the previous row. Chain 1, and this is the pattern. All right, skip this single crochet and go into the chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet, and then you chain 1. Skip the single crochet, go into the chain 1 space from the previous row and put a single crochet there. Okay, and also too, for this row, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a stitch marker right here in the front, because this is now, because we turn our work, so we're facing the right side of our work. Okay, so right here, and I'm going to do it in the front, so it stays in the front, so when you know you're working in the back, you know what the back is, and this is the front, because I'll refer to it later on. Okay, so just put a little stitch marker there. That's to help us as we go along. All right, if you could remember, fine. All right, so again, just keep on working with that pattern till you get to the end where I had put that stitch marker, and I'll show you what to do in that last stitch right there. So now we're at the end of row 3. Remember, I put that stitch marker because I wanted to show you when we did that chain 2 space from the previous row, because this will be our single crochet. You see the V right here, and I chained the 1 already following the pattern. So take out the stitch marker if you have it in. I'm going to take it out. So we're going to put a single crochet right there. And remember, that's the pattern in the sense of whenever you finish a row, you have to end off with a single crochet, and that's how you know you didn't miss a stitch or did it a little wrong or something. Okay, so make sure you always end off with a single crochet in the last chain space from the previous row. And so that's the completion of row 3. Now for row 4, what you're going to do is chain 2, 1, 2, and turn your work. So row 4, the exact same thing we did for row 3 we're going to do again. So skip that first stitch, that's the single crochet, and in that chain 1 space from the previous row you're going to put a single crochet right there. Remember, if you need help to remember where you're going to finish off when you come around, you could put a stitch marker in that chain 2 space we made when we turn our work to start row 4. Okay, I'm not going to put it there, but if you need help, go ahead, put it there. All right, so the pattern again is chain 1, skip the next stitch, that will be the single crochet, and go into the space right there, that's the chain 1 space from the previous row, and put 1 single crochet. So that's it. That's the same pattern we're going to be following to do row 4. Now moving forward, for the row that we just repeat, that's row 3 that we started row 4. So you're going to repeat row 3 all the way up to row 36, and when you meet at row 36, I'll show you what to do at the end of row 36, because we're going to change the color to Surf Baby then, okay? And that's the blue, remember? So just keep on working till you get there. Keep a track. You know, I usually write down or jot down where I'm at, so I keep a track of my rows as I go up. So do that, and I'll meet you there at row 36, and I'll show you how to change the color. Okay, so this is how we look. We made it up to row 36, and we're at the last stitch to make for this row, for row 36. So we're going to start it, and remember it's in the side because this is the single crochet. So we're going to go to the side where our chain 2 is, and then you're going to pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook. Now we're going to change to our new color. Of course, you drop the old color yarn and you pick up the new color yarn. Give it a nice little tail because we're going to tuck it in, and then just yarn over your hook and pull across. And that's it. That's how you chain colors. And then we're going to start the new row with the new color. So you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and this starting row 37. Because we finished 36. You could just give it a little, let it hold on. We're going to tuck them in later. And then the same pattern that we've been doing, skip the first stitch and the second stitch right here. That's the chain 1 space. You're going to just put a single crochet. So keep on following that pattern. Remember, chain 1, skip the single crochet and go into the chain 1 space. And that's it. So what I'm going to do later, I just want to let you know, I'm going to cut this off, the old yarn, give it a little tail so that we could tuck it in also. So you're going to continue with this same pattern now with the new yarn, or you're going to go all the way up to row 77, and when you meet and complete that row, we meet up there, okay? So keep on working with that pattern. So we made it up all the way to row 77. I think it looks pretty nice. Came out pretty good. Okay, so now to complete row 77, what we're going to do, because we put that last single crochet, you're just going to chain 1. Go ahead and pull up a nice tail about 17 inches because we're going to use it later on. And I'm just going to grab my scissors and cut it off, and that's it. Full view of our back panel. So that's it for our back of our top. So what you're going to do now, you're going to make another one, and you're going to go all the way up to row 71, and you stop at row 71, and then I'm going to come back and show you what we're going to do next, because we want to shape out the neck for the front of our top, okay? So go ahead and do everything we just did. Make one up to row 71, and I'll meet you there. So now we made it up to the end of row 71. So row 72, to start it, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and turn our work. So now the pattern for row 72 is everything that we were doing with the putting the single crochet right into the chain 1 space. We're going to continue doing that, and we're going to do this for this row an additional 9 more times. So that will give us 10 single crochet and 10 chain one space. That means we use 20 stitches. When you finish that, I'll meet you there. So by doing that pattern, we did for 20 stitches from the previous row, and we have 10 single crochet and 10 chain one space. Okay, hopefully you understand that and I explained it right. So when you do that, so I'll show you with the single crochet is the V shape, remember? So if you count them with the V shape, this would be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and that's what our pattern was with the, we end off with a single crochet, and that's for row 72 that we're going to start with shaping out the neck. So now we're going to put a stitch marker at the next stitch, and the next stitch is the actual single crochet. See the V shape? Put a stitch marker right there, and this is going to help us later on too. Okay, leave it there, and that's for completion of row 72. So this will also be considered the right side of our work, because if we put it facing us, that will be on our right shoulder, our right arm. Okay, so that's what we're going to work with it. So now for row 73, you're going to chain 2 1 2 and turn your work. So I went ahead and turned my work. So now the pattern we're going to keep that we've been doing the whole time. So you see that first chain one space from the previous row, you're just going to put a single crochet right there, and then you're going to chain one, and you're going to do that till you get to the end of the row. And remember, there is a little space right there that we have from that previous row. For the chain 2, you put your last single crochet right there. Okay, and that's for row 73. So now we completed row 73, and to start row 74, you're going to chain your 2, turn your work, and you're going to proceed in working with those right here where we have, and we're going to work up all the way up to row 77, because it's going to match up to our back. Okay, and when you finish that, I'll show you what to do next. So remember, you're going to repeat row 74, 75, 76, 77. So you have 4 more rows to do for the right side, and then I'll show you what to do next. That's it. We made it up to row 77. So now you're going to chain 1, and you're going to pull up a nice size tail and cut it off, and that tail we're going to use later on to sew up our shoulder. Okay, I give it about 17 to 20 inches. So you know, before we start adding on our new yarn, that I turned it on the wrong side because we end off on the right side. And what we're going to do is we're going to skip. I already put my stitch marker there because I count by the single crochet, and the single crochet is the V shape. You see it when you do it. So I count 18, including the one that I have the stitch marker that we left previously, and the stitch marker that I put in just now, so I could be reminded of the 18 single crochet. And then we have the 18 chain 1. So the 18 plus 18 gives you your 36. So skip 36 stitches, and then we're going to start joining on our new yarn in that chain 1 space. Now to join our yarn in and to keep the pattern going in that chain 1 space, we have to pull up, give it a nice little tail, and then we pull up a yarn, and then we're going to chain 2, 1 2, and keep it a little loose because we're going to come back in there when we have to return back, okay, for the next row. And in that same space, we're going to put a single crochet. All right, so remember, when you come back around, if you want to put a little stitch marker in there so you know, because there's the single crochet and the chain 2 space. The single crochet is the little V shape, and we're going to put when we come back in the next row. So continue going on with the pattern of till the end of the chain 1 and single crochet into the next chain 1 space from the previous row. So this is to shape out the left side of our neck, and this will be considered row 72 that we're starting. Okay, to start row 73, you chain your 2, turn your work, and follow the pattern again to there. I'll show you when you get there if you're a little confused again what I meant earlier when we return it. Okay, so continue to get to the last stitch, and I'll show you what to do next. So now we're almost at the last stitch to do for row 73. So here where we join from row 72. Remember, we joined the yarn and we did a chain 2, and then we did a single crochet into that same stitch. So right there to the side of the chain 2 space, there's a chain 2 right there. You're gonna put the last single crochet right there, okay? Because remember, you still have that V from the single crochet. And then you're going to chain 2 and turn your work, and then you're going to start row 74, and you're going to do row 74 with the pattern we've been doing. And so with the pattern we've been doing, we match it up with the right side of our shoulder, because with the right side of our shoulder, as I said, I've been using the single crochet as our means of counting. You had 10 single crochet and 10 single chain space, so you have 20 stitches. So we have 20 here because I count with the single crochet, and you should have 20 stitches, so if that helps you. Okay, so continue working with that pattern. So you're going to do that for row 74, 75, 76, and 77, and then I'll show you what to do next. So we made it up to row 77, so you're going to chain 1. You're going to pull up a nice little size tail, cut it off because we're going to tuck it in later. And of course, we finish on our right side of our work, okay? So, you know, and it helps you out. All right, so just do that, and I'll show you how the next part is. We're going to sew up the shoulder of our top. The full view of our front panel. So now we're going to start sewing up our shoulder. So what you're going to do is take your back panel, the back panel and the front panel, and lay them on top of each other, because we're going to sew on the right side. Remember, we left earlier our markers to show us what's the right side of our work. So place your 2 wrong side facing each other and the right side facing down, and we're going to sew on with using our tail that we left earlier. Before I start doing that, I'll show you how to tuck in this one, because this one will be right where we're sewing up. So I'll show you how to tuck that in, and then I'll show you only to do one side, and you go ahead and do the other side exactly the same way, okay? So now I attach my yarn needle, because I'll show you how to weave it in, and then you're going to go ahead and use the same pattern to tuck in all the other ends, okay? So now I turn it to the wrong side of our work, because we want to weave it in there. And then just going through the stitches that's right there, that would have been the single crochet. And that's all we're going to do, just weave it in and keep it in the back stitches. I don't let it come out to the front. So that's it. I went up a couple of times back and forth, and just to make sure it's nice and tucked in, and then just grab my scissors and cut off the extra, and that's it, how we weave it in. So when we finish sewing up the shoulder edge, before we start anything else, I also wanted to show you these extra tails that we have here. You're just going to give it a little knot before. And this is side of course of our top. Give it one little knot, and then what you do, you go ahead and weave it in the same way that I just showed you when I did the top, okay? And here in the front, this where we added the new yarn, it's coming out from the front. Remember when we started to do the left panel, we added the new yarn? All you do is just take your hook, go in and just pull it, and then you could weave it inside, because this is inside now, okay? Instead of it being in the front of our work. Okay, so I attached my yarn needle. So now we're gonna just start sewing up the side. And this is called the mattress stitch. So you just take, because it's already attached, just go through. We're gonna use the top stitches of our work to close it up. And we just wanna make sure it anchors a little bit. So go back into that, where the yarn was coming from, go back over there to that stitch. And now we're gonna start using the mattress stitch. So go back where we started. First went underneath. You're gonna go underneath. If it helps you, it's like when you do your shoe and you lace it up, this is what you do. So go underneath the next stitch. And then come back over, go on, and you're gonna try to line them up as best as you can. All right? That's all we're doing. And then go back over underneath that stitch. And see, we're picking up 2 of the yarn when we go underneath. And then come back over underneath. Just give it a little tug, not too tight. You want it to close, okay? Back underneath. And we're going to do this for all our sewing. We're going to use this method. Okay, so we made it to the end. So we're just gonna tuck it inside. And then we're gonna weave it in. Okay, so go ahead and weave it inside. And that's it. So we finished doing our shoulder, sewing it up. And this is the right side. And this is how the wrong side looks. So now we're going to move on to sewing up our sides of our top. But remember, go ahead and tuck in your ends. And then I'll meet you there. So now we're going to start sewing up the sides of our top. And for us to start, because we don't have any yarn attached, we have to go ahead and cut off a new piece of yarn. And of course, it's going to be the color yarn that matches up with what we're going to sew up start, because you know we change our color yarn here. So we're going to cut off enough that we can use, and we're going to stop where our chocolate color yarn stop. Okay, so we're going to cut off, I did about 30 inches, give us enough, because we got to attach it, so we got to give it a little tail too to attach it. So when we sew up our side of our top, we're going to go up and we sew up all the way up to row 53 when we get to the new color. And the opening, that's going to be the opening of our armhole, and it's about 6.5 inches that we leave open for our armhole, okay? But that's when we get to the new color. So right now, I'm just going to show you how to attach the yarn, and we're going to do the same method that we did when we did for the top of our shoulder, okay? I'll get you started again. So we're going to try to anchor our yarn. So start from the, and of course we have our still on the right side, because we're going to sew everything on the right side, okay? So you're aware of that. Just take it, I give it a nice size little tail so that I could weave it in later. And now you go back to the other side. And then go back from where we came from, where we first put it in. And then one more time, go back to where we just came from. And that should hold it there, anchor it for you, okay? And then we're going to weave that in part later that we started. So now, and then you're going to continue doing the mattress stitch. And again, the mattress stitch is just go in. So it's just going under and then come back over and then go under. Try to pick up at least 2 of this yarn as you go along, okay? And that will make it a little easier to hold on. So that's it. We're going to do that, and then I meet you to when we're getting ready to change our color yarn. Okay, so now I made it up to where we have the end of our chocolate. So we're just gonna hide it inside and weave it inside, okay? That's it. And now we're gonna start doing the other color yarn. So now we cut off a piece of new yarn, of course, to match the color yarn that we're going to start sewing, and that's the Surf Baby color yarn. Okay, and I did about 22 inches, you know, because we're going to use enough to sew up. Okay, so we're going to go up, and as I mentioned, we're going to go up to row 53. So go up to row 53, or 6.5 inches opening for armhole, and then stop there and do exactly everything that I did. We're going to attach it the same way we attached the chocolate color, and finish off by weaving it in. So go ahead and do that, and when you finish that, I'll meet you there. Okay, so we did that, and this is how we look. So go ahead and do it for the exact same thing we just did for the other side. I already did my other side, and I already did the armhole too, because what we're going to do with the armhole is we're going to put a row of single crochet around, and we're going to do that for 2 rounds. And all we're going to do is put 49 single crochet, and of course we pattern call for single crochet, so you know how to do that. But I'm just going to show you how to attach it and how to finish it off. So 49 single crochet around twice, and I put my stitch marker. I'll show you when I started. So let's get started with that, doing the armhole. So all we're going to do is just go to the armhole right here, and you're just going to pull up, and of course it's the color of the same color yarn, and that's the Surf Baby. Okay, just pull up a loop of yarn. You're going to chain 1 as a hold in place, and you're going to go into that same stitch that we just pull up that yarn, and you're going to put a single crochet right there. Okay, and that will be our first single crochet, and being that's our first single crochet, I'm going to put my stitch marker in. So all you're going to do, like I said, is just right around the armhole, just put 1 single crochet. So that would be 2, and we're going to do this for 49 times. And when you finish round 2, I'll show you how to end it. Okay. Okay, so we made it to our last stitch for round 2. So what you're going to do now is just going to pull up a nice tail, and we're going to cut off our yarn, and then I'll show you how to join it so it looks nice, the invisible join. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take out our stitch marker, and of course I attached my yarn needle already. You're going to go right into where the stitch marker was, and then you're going to go back to where our yarn is coming from, and you're just going to go through the top part of the back of it. Okay, see what you're doing is making another stitch that hides it, looks nice. And then we're going to weave it inside. When you weave it inside, if there is any like hole or gap here, you could go ahead and use the tail that we have and close them up. Okay, so that's it for the armhole. Next we're going to move on to the neck area. Now we're going to start working around the neck. All we're going to do is just put 1 single crochet around the neck, and that's it. We're all finished after that. So basically the same thing we did when we did the opening for the armhole. I'm going to start here. Let me turn it around. So remember when we left off our stitch markers? So I'm going to go 2 stitch, so that will be 1 and 2. I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to join it here, and it's the same thing we've been doing with the joining, is just to attach our yarn. And of course I'm using the same color yarn. You could switch it up by using the chocolate. It's all up to you. Try it out, see how it works for you. So attach it, of course give it a nice tail so we could weave it in later, and chain 1 to hold in place, and in that same stitch we're going to put the first single crochet. Okay, and of course, so I know where I started so I could stop, we're going to put a stitch marker right there. All right, and that's it. So just keep on working with that pattern with 1 single crochet around the neck area, and when you get back to your stitch marker, I will show you what to do next. So we made it to the end of our round one for the neck, and that's it. So now we're going to do an invisible join. So what you're going to do is, again, just pull up a nice size tail, and I'm going to grab my scissors and cut it off and attach my yarn needle and show you how to do it once again to do the invisible join. So now we're going to close off by doing our invisible join. So we're going to take out our stitch marker, because the invisible join is just go into that stitch that we had the stitch marker, and then go back to where our yarn is coming from, and then go down just in the middle and go back, and then just weave it in, and that's it. And that's how it looks again. Nice, nice. So complete, weave it in, take it out, all your stitch markers, and that's it. That's it. We're finished. We complete making our moss color block top. I think it came out pretty nice. You did great work with your own little hands, and the moss stitch makes our top look really nice. Easy and simple, just a chain and a single crochet. So thank you for watching. Till next time, bye bye.